Alright, welcome back everyone. It's Brick System Brothers, it's Nathan Masters hosting, and it's another video about a haul from eBay. 2 large priority mail boxes, and in these boxes we have vintage Lego. So vintage, I buy for slightly different reasons than just mixed general Lego. I wasn't really much of a vintage collector until 2018 came around, and I started buying vintage because it was kind of intriguing. It's just kind of a different flavor of Lego, and I like it. And it's all compatible, of course, because Lego has been essentially a locked-in design since 1958, which is cool. Basically, they've just been continually increasing part variety. So you go down several years back to 60s, and this is 60s and 70s era Lego. You really reduce the variety of parts, so you end up with really basic bricks and plates, and then a couple specialty things here and there, but nothing compared to what we're getting at today. So vintage, you almost have to be more of an antique collector than a Lego collector to appreciate it. And that's kind of why I buy it, is because it's something a little bit different. And yeah, I don't know. I've been watching Brickzar on and off for several years, and I think there's a similar thing going on there, where it's just, a different thing to collect with Lego. And not everyone does it. It isn't for everyone to buy vintage stuff. But sometimes it can be less expensive. Sometimes it could be more expensive. It just depends what you're buying. Just depends what you like. And for me, it's just another kind of avenue to pursue in the hobby. So this haul is kind of a double whammy. These were initially listed as separate lots, and I ended up buying them as separate lots, but they're from the same seller. And this altogether was close to $90. So it wasn't like a bargain or anything. I think, there was kind of a point where we were both looking to see if we could get the shipping costs down, but at the end of the day, it does weigh quite a bit, and it's going to cost a little bit to ship. Ooh boy, we might have some mini Talia in here. Yes sir, yes sir. Alright, I haven't looked too hard at this lot, and it's looking pretty promising. And, you get to some stuff that's really collectible, just in terms of, what do people want to collect and buy. And I think vintage for me is just something to buy and hold on to for a while and see what happens to it, because it's not as popular as standard Lego, but it is something different, and it's something I find interesting. So that top box has pretty much mostly bricks. There's another little thing I've already sorted out of printed 1x6s, which are very interesting. I think there is also a hospital 1x2 in here somewhere that I saw just glancing through these bags. I'll have to highlight it later. 1x2s, 2x4s, some slopes, 2x2. I think that's a mini Talia piece. Some large 2x bricks, 2x3. So these are already sorted by size, which is interesting. And then there's a whole thing of large base bricks here, and these are the old kind. So there's blue, there's some gray plates, and then this one might be mini Talia as well. And then I think these on top here are probably a different brand. There's a slightly different stud design. So there's some base bricks there. Next box down is more vintage, of course. So yeah, I was able to message the seller and kind of get a little info about this. Like, what are you selling vintage for? Can you combine shipping? And I think this was just left over in a property that was sold, and was just looking to pass that on. So a lot of times those people don't necessarily look into the market too much to see what things are going for. They just want to see if they can get it moved. So under $100 for this, I feel like was a good deal, but of course it depends if you care about vintage Lego. So here's some more slopes. We've got some 2x3, red and blue. This is probably all going to be Samsonite Lego as well. which was the US division that produced the pieces at the time. I've talked about that before. Fences, windows, macaroni bricks. This is a bag of goodies here. That's Minitalia. Alright, there is some gold in the river. All the wheels and turntables. Nice variety of Samsonite gears. Here's our one buys. So yeah, this was basically the whole collection. I'm glad I got both lots. I don't recall if Lego has too many printed 1x8 bricks, but we've got, you know, the slotted. We've got a mix of the slotted and the rod base styles. There's some paper. There's a garage base. I'll just get this unpacked all the way, and then I'm gonna really dig into this and see what there is, and I'll try to pull some highlights together. Oh boy. Oh, this is getting good. The blue rail era of Lego trains. That's a lot of blue rails. Those look like they're in okay shape. I wonder how many ties there are. Here's our transparents. Yep. Those are always going to be a little cloudy. Is that an HO train car in here? Some plant objects. Oh, if those are Lego, those are good. There's a motor. And some little plates. Yep. Maybe into 80s with these as well. Last two things are 3 base plates. This one has very rounded over studs. These two are in slightly better shape. Alright. There's $90 worth of vintage Lego. Alright. This looks familiar. This is my dry area in the middle of the process for the inventory, wash and inventory. So I've got the slopes, mostly slopes here. Also did the gears, 2x2 patent pending bricks, some of the 2x8, 2x10, and other certain styles of slopes. So these concave red are interesting. The old 1x2s don't have the support tube in the middle, and 2 of these uncommon peak 90-degree turn peak pieces. Majority here are the 2x4 slopes, of course. So pretty much the same story with all the regular bricks, but I mentioned I wanted to focus a little bit more on some of the really special stuff from this lot. So that's kind of what I want to cover for the rest of the video, and then we'll definitely be coming back to some of the specific items here. But this was kind of the miscellaneous bag. I haven't seen this piece before. This is a 2x4 axle base, and it's got the holes on each side, but then it also has some kind of post sticking up. It's not centered. Well, it's centered this way. It's not centered this way. So, not familiar with that piece. If anyone knows what that is, let me know. But I think the highlight of the lot is these right here. These are the HO scale cars that Lego made in the 60s. And this specific car is the Volkswagen 1500. So I think when people do know about the Lego HO cars, they usually are familiar with the Beetle. That one's pretty iconic. Some of the other Mercedes and Ford vehicles that Lego did. And I've talked about my only other vehicle from this small segment of Lego cars, the Opel Record. So I've talked about that one. I've kind of known about these cars since I started buying vintage. But these were not visible in the listing pictures at all. They were kind of packed away in the middle of the bag of other pieces, and I didn't see these until I started getting stuff unpacked. So there are 4 blue VW 1500s and 1 red. The red one has a little bit of sticker residue on both sides on the door. But other than that, and other than the blue one's missing the headlights, everything here in really good shape. The red one actually has the headlights. Get that in focus. Look at that. So yeah, pretty stoked about these. It's not something you really stumble on every day. Good condition Volkswagen 1500s going for $30 to $50 a piece on eBay. Definitely got my money's worth just in those vehicles, so everything on top of that is kind of nice. Did get one intact garage, probably came with one of the vehicles. Unfortunately, a lot of the other garages are broken, so like 3 other garage bases. Was able to salvage a couple of the doors, as those are kind of a separate piece. And then another larger garage base that I'm kind of familiar with, but I haven't had one. 2 of those door frames, and then this garage door is missing the counterweights, but still functional. So it's not the end of the world to have that. So that's kind of the special stuff. Really wanted to mention those cars. A couple of the base bricks, I did talk about those. I counted up the rails and separated out. There's 2 kinds of curve rail. So this is the outside radius, and this is the inside radius. It's slightly shorter so that it matches up. I ended up with 41 of these, 37 of these, so about 40 of each, which is what you want, because 2 of them together will make a curve, and then a couple of the straight ones as well. So I could make a really decently sized layout with the pieces I already have, because you need 2x8 plates to make the ties, or 2x8 bricks. But yeah, it's kind of a different way to build Lego railroad tracks from the blue rail era, which is right here. So I have the instructions for the 111 blue rail era train. I have the track idea book that would have been packed with these 4 sets, I believe. It just shows you different layouts. Whoops. Oh, they're kind of wrinkled and a little crumpled, but they're okay yet. Yeah. Printed in Denmark. And then 2 copies of the Lego Story. Now, these are worth reading through. Maybe another day. I won't read all the way through right now, but 2 of those. So those were my books, my booklets that were kind of wrapped in there. And the other thing that I want to really dive into right now is the Lego, not Minitalia. This is known as Lego Oro. I think that's how you say it. So Minitalia looks just like this. It has hollow studs and the X cross support underneath instead of our standard tube support and solid studs with the logo. But Minitalia does not have anything on the inside of those hollow studs, and this one has looks like a letter K, but after doing a little bit of research, it seems like it's actually a Japanese character, which is part of the name of the product from Japan called Lego Oro or Lego Olo, but I think the L is pronounced as an R based on what I've read. Could be totally wrong here. So earlier today, as of filming this, I left a comment on a Brickstar video to see if he has anything to say about it. And this is one of the things that I'll definitely be getting back to with a separate video to kind of dive into it. And so if I do hear anything back from Jabbo, I'll probably discuss that in a future video. But I ended up with 8 of the 2x4 Oro. You'll see that K in there and the cross support underneath. So, you know, everything else, like dimension-wise, it's identical to standard brick. And Minitalia was actually made from a cheaper plastic. Lego Oro is an ABS plastic. Again, this is just what I've read on some of the forums that I was able to find. So just passing along what I've read. I'm not really an expert on this product yet. I'd like to learn some more about it. So the 2x4 brick, kind of the collectible one, and then some 1x2 in white and red, a couple of 2x2 white and red, and a single blue 2x2 over here, a single red 2x3, and then underneath everything here there's a 6x16 vehicle base that is also this K logo product. So a decent mix, you know, for buying a lot to get vintage Lego, not really expecting to have anything like this. It was pretty cool to pick this up. Wasn't able to find any current listings on eBay for this, so I have no idea what these would go for. I imagine it'd be comparable to Minitalia, which I haven't seen a lot of listings for just the bricks. Usually those people are selling a set or Minitalia windows, and those go for quite a bit of money. The windows themselves, double digits, the sets, triple digits. So just the bricks, just the Lego Oro bricks, I don't know. It's hard to guess. But definitely worth more than regular vintage Lego, just because it's less common. So the scarcity factor there. Pretty collectible, pretty niche. Want to get back to that another day. But yeah, this lot looking really good. Really solid purchase here. I'll put the little scorecard in like I've done with my other lots. So that's kind of how everything ended up with the breakdown. In my books, this is kind of going into 2 separate boxes, but all combined together is probably a better indicator of the value here and what I ended up with. And at the end of the day, it's all getting combined in my collection. So not bad for vintage. Definitely was able to learn a little bit with the Japanese product here. Stoked to get this and the HO scale vehicles. So those are the gems from this haul. Everything else, great to have, you know, more vintage, these windows and stuff. But I already had, you know, the regular bricks aren't hard to come by at all. The blue rail gets up there a little bit. So, you know, basically just stocking up on that. But this stuff, to be able to get in basically what is a bulk vintage lot is great. A lot of fun to get that. Alright guys, thanks for watching along. More of these eBay hauls coming up. More about the Japanese import Lego and probably these VW 1500s. I'll do a separate review for these guys in the future. So stick around for those. Thanks for watching, Brick System Brothers.